Alright guys, so here's everything that we got today. Of course we got the Speed 4, this is our main competitor. Then we got the Deviate Nitro 2, the New Balance SC Trainer V2, the old Endorphin Speed, the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, the Adidas Boston 12, and the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2, which I've taken to calling the Flash 2. So we are going to do a comparison of the Speed 4 against these 5 right here. And I'm going to let you know differences between all of these and which one of these is going to be best for your rotation. Alright guys, before we get into it today, if you haven't checked out the Running Shoe Matcher tool yet, go to runningshoematcher.com. So this is a tool I built on Supwell that matches you with the best shoe for you based on your goals and preferences. So if you're not sure which of these plated trainers is good for you after watching this video, go ahead and take the quiz. It's 5 questions. You can put in whether you like shoes soft or firm, whether you want a race day shoe, a tempo shoe, or a daily trainer. We'll match you with the best shoe for you. So it's live on Supwell right now and it's free. You can find it at runningshoematcher.com, or you can go to the Shoe Matcher tab on supwell.io. All right, let's get into it. All right guys, so first up, we're gonna look at the Speed 4 against the Speed 3. So as I mentioned in my first run review yesterday, Speed 4 retains much of the same DNA that made the Speed 3 such a fun shoe to run in. Still has the Power Run PB midsole, it's still soft and bouncy, it still has the same general vibe. However, they have made some changes that nudge the Speed 4 even further into daily trainer territory. So it's gone up about 0.6 grams in my US men's size 10.5. So it feels a little bit heavier underfoot, feels a little bit more substantial underfoot. The tongue is a little bit more padded. We got the super thin paper-like tongue here. I also love what they've done with the styling with the Speed 4 versus the Speed 3. Speed 4 looks much better on foot, and it overall feels a little bit more like a regular sneaker than the Speed 3. Now, I'm not sure if there's a scientific way to measure this other than the eye test, and you can't really actually tell from holding it up like this, but the Speed 4 feels a little bit more like a natural everyday running shoe than the Speed 3 does. It doesn't feel like the rocker is as aggressive, so when I'm walking around in the Speed 4, it feels just like kind of a sneaker that I wear for yard work or going to a soccer game or going to the coffee shop. And I think that's what Saucony wants to do with the Speed 4. They want to make it more of that shoe for everyday miles and everyday use, kind of like a modern Nike Pegasus, or even, and guys, hear me out on this one, but even a Nike Free Run. And that is kind of what this is giving me vibes of. The sock-like upper that the Free Run had is pretty similar to what we're seeing here. There's a little tongue gusset, so it's not exactly the same sock that was in the Free Run, but also that flexible underfoot feel that was one of the things that made that Nike Free Run so great. So of course the stack on this is much higher, but I think the main reason it's giving me that vibe is just the flexibility of the shoe. It still retains that flexibility that we're getting in the Speed 3, but overall just a little bit more of a robust shoe, which you will see in the weight. Now in terms of which one of these you should get, also I should mention the Speed 3 is going to be going on sale February 1st. Is going to be a 20% off on Saucony. I'm not sure if other sites are going to reflect that, but you guys should know that. You will be able to get the Speed 3 for a little bit of discount starting in just a few weeks. So if you want a true daily trainer that's a little bit more fun to run in, I would go for the Speed 4. If you want a lightweight up-tempo shoe that can do some faster work, I would go for the Speed 3. Having put some decent mileage in the Speed 4 now, I can tell you it's definitely not a super fast shoe, and that will come up across some of these other comparisons we do. I prefer something a little bit firmer than what we get here. And also I think the Speed 3, just because of the lighter weight and a little bit more of aggressive rocker feeling, is a little bit better for fast running. So if you do want that lightweight fast shoe, I'd go Speed 3. If you want a supportive, softer, everyday trainer, I would go for the Speed 4. Okay, guys, next up here we have the SC Trainer V2. So this guy right here was actually one of the best shoes that I've found to replace the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, because I did a lot of longer mileage in my Speed 3 like earlier last year in 2023, and then at some point toward the middle of the year I stopped liking it as much, especially as my Speed 3 got up to that 300 mile mark, and I haven't really been able to find a great replacement for that shoe for long runs. I used the Boston 12, I used the Pro 3, but nothing exactly hit like that Speed 3 did until I came across the SC Trainer V2. So this thing has been one of my favorite all-time long run shoes. It has a nice soft feel from the fuel cell foam you're getting in here, but then it also has some pep from the carbon fiber plate, which we're seeing in the midsole here. So that's going to be a differentiator between this shoe and the Speed 4, is the SC Trainer V2 is not flexible at all. Now what that's going to mean is for most runners, Speed 4 is again going to be better for everyday mileage because it has a little bit more of that natural feel from the flexibility in the platform. And the SC Trainer V2 slots in for me as a shoe that I put on when I want to just cruise along at any pace. It does have a really nice rockered feel similar to the Speed 3, probably a little bit more of aggressive rocker than we even see in the Speed 4. So both of these are very forgiving shoes. However, the difference of the plastic plate versus the carbon plate is going to be felt out there on the ride. With the SC Trainer V2, sometimes you can feel that harder plate coming through. I haven't gotten that at all in the Speed 4 here, which again is why this is a little bit better as a daily trainer. I prefer to not feel the plate for my everyday miles. The other thing I should mention about the SC Trainer V2 is it is a little bit on the heavier side. It comes in at 9.7 ounces for US men's sample size 9. Then in terms of durability, neither of these is going to be super durable, again because they have these softer foams and they don't have a ton of rubber coverage on the outsole. Neither of these is really going to be one of those workhorse style shoes that you could use for 400, 500 miles. Of course, there are exceptions to that rule, but most people won't be hitting those high levels with these shoes. So for most people, Speed 4 is going to be a good option for everyday work and for some faster workouts depending on what paces you're hitting. If you're running sub 3 marathon, sub 250 marathon, Speed 4 might be a little soft for any of your structured workouts. Same thing with the SC Trainer V2, you're not going to want to use this for structured workouts. However, if you're targeting 4-hour marathon, that's where the SC Trainer V2 comes in for maybe even a race day shoe, but for most runners, this is going to be a relaxed recovery running shoe, particularly for faster runners running sub 3. I love the SC Trainer V2 as an easy day, relaxed shoe, and then the Speed 3 as that more fun daily trainer. Alright guys, next up we have the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. Now this is one that I've recently brought in-house. For the past year, since Christmas 2022, I was using the Saucony Triumph 20 Run Shield as my wet weather shoe. That thing had a water resistant upper, really durable, chunky outsole, and is a shoe that was very versatile across a bunch of different paces. So I loved using it any day where there is a ton of rain or is wet until I got my Boston 12, which I use for faster rainy days. So I brought the Deviate Nitro 2 in to replace the Triumph 20 Run Shield because that thing hit 350 miles and the outsole is burnt through. Also, you guys wanted me to test the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. It was one of the only plated trainers I hadn't run in. So I thought, why not bring the water resistant version in so that it has a little bit more of a use case in my rotation. So I haven't put a ton of miles on the Deviate Nitro 2 yet, but from my initial testing of the shoe, it's very similar in spirit to the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 in that it's easy to run in, it's not too harsh underfoot, and it's almost more like a souped up daily trainer than it is a fast speed workout shoe. So the key differences though with the Deviate Nitro 2 versus the Speed 4 are that the Puma here doesn't have much of a rocker at all. Puma doesn't really deploy rockers across any of their shoes, so you're going to be getting a little bit of a flatter feel. As you can see, there's a tiny bit of a toe spring up here, but there's not much of a rocking sensation, so it is going to have a little bit more of a natural ride than even the Speed 4 does. It's also not as flexible of a shoe as the Speed 4. You can see I can bend it here a little bit. It has a carbon composite plate, so a little bit more rigid than the plastic, but not as rigid as a carbon fiber plate. But underfoot, it definitely was a touch firmer in the forefoot. I mentioned this in my first run review, which I'll be posting sometime soon. I'm actually saving that one up for when the baby comes. I'm trying to have some content ready to go so I can take at least 2 days off when this baby comes. Who knows? So for me, I wouldn't love running in the Puma Deviate Nitro 2 every day. For example, I'm not going to put it through my 100-mile week test because it's just a little bit too rigid of a platform for running in for everyday miles. Now, the benefit of a shoe like the Speed 4 with the plastic plate is that you get some of that snap, you get some of that stability and structure from having the plastic in there, but it doesn't alter your form and mechanics as much as a carbon or even carbon composite plate does here. So Deviate Nitro 2, definitely still a hybrid daily trainer speed day shoe. It can pick up the pace a little bit, not going to be as fast as the next two shoes we're going to highlight, but a little bit of a firmer ride than we see in the Speed 4. So if you want something that's super soft, super forgiving, that's where the Speed 4 is going to come into play. But if you want something that's just a little bit more rigid, a little bit more structured, also maybe even a little bit of a narrower upper, a more rocket-like feel, that's going to be the Deviate Nitro 2. Now the Deviate Nitro 2 is also going to be much more of a durable shoe. If we look at these outsoles here, you can see that Puma has put a ton more rubber on the back. Also just the thickness of the rubber that we're seeing, the Deviate Nitro 2 is going to take the cake there. So these are priced at about the same, but you should be able to get 50 to 100 more miles out of the Deviate Nitro 2. So if you are budget oriented, Deviate Nitro 2 is going to take the cake. But if you just want something fun and soft to run in that's going to be forgiving for everyday miles, that's going to be the Speed 4. Alright guys, next up here we have the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2, which I've nicknamed the Flash 2. Now when I saw this guy at TRE back in November, I got super excited because I thought a challenger brand, and yes, Mizuno is a challenger brand, even though they've been going in the running shoe space for decades now. I'm calling them a challenger brand because they are a challenger in this performance running space. They haven't really gotten too much credibility for fast shoes. So I got excited that a challenger brand like Mizuno was bringing something into this plated trainer space that could compete with the Speed 3, the Boston, and the Hoka Mach X. However, when I ordered this in, I actually got it at Duke last week when I was up there, I quickly realized that the spirit of the shoe, what it's going for, is not the same thing that Speed 3, Boston 12, and Hoka Mach are going for. This is a much faster, more aggressive shoe. I would put it in the same category as the Adidas Takumi Sen. I know that's a 5K, 10K racer, but most of us hobby joggers use that as a workout shoe for fast repeats, for shorter distance efforts where we're going to be hitting top speed. And that's what the Wave Rebellion Flash is best for. So it has this heel cutout here, makes it very aggressive to running. You have to be running with strength in the forefoot or midfoot area. And then it has a really aggressive rocker that makes it super fun when you are hitting up at the top of the platform here. You just bounce right off. So this is a much firmer shoe than the Speed 4. You can see here as I'm bending it, I'm not getting much. Then in terms of rotational flexibility here, again, not very much at all. So if you're a forefoot striker and you want something good for fast running, I think particularly if you're targeting a sub 3 marathon or sub 250 marathon, the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2 would be a great shoe for that. For most runners, Speed 4 is going to serve you much better. Speed 4 is much more versatile, much more forgiving underfoot, has a nice chunk of foam back out here in the heel for stable landings. This thing does not have anything in the heel to land on really because of that cutout, so it's not going to be the friendliest ride for everyday miles. So both these shoes are priced the same, $170. I wish Mizuno priced this at $150 or $160. Would have made it a touch more palatable for runners to try the shoe, see if it worked for them. It's definitely not a crowd-pleasing type of shoe, while the Speed 4 is designed in a way that's going to make it work for most runners out there. So most runners go for the Speed 4. If you want something fast and light for track workouts and you're targeting a sub 3 hour marathon, that's where the Flash 2 comes into play. Alright guys, last year we have the Adidas Boston 12. Now in my rotation over the past few months, the Boston 12 has been my go-to workout shoe. So everything from fast 800 meter repeats to long marathon pace tempos, Boston 12 has been a great shoe for me. Most recently this week, I hit 1 mile repeats in this shoe at a 5:30, 5:40 pace, and this just felt fantastic. Now when I slipped the Endorphin Speed 4 on yesterday, I immediately thought of all the flack that you guys give me about the Boston 12. You guys are always coming at me for the Boston 12 needing break-in. No break-in required with these guys. They feel soft right out of the box. As I always talk about, there are trade-offs to having a soft or a firmer foam in a shoe. If we have a firmer foam in a shoe like we see in the Light Strike and the bottom layer of the Boston 12, it's going to require some break-in, but it's also going to give it much more durability and longevity. Whereas in the Speed 3 here with this super soft Power Run PB right out of the box, it's going to feel super comfortable the first day that you put it on, but you're not going to get as many miles out of it, and it can have the tendency to bottom out on longer runs. So the Boston 12 is a firmer, faster shoe. It's not going to be as friendly for most runners, and I have had some friends here on the channel get the shoe and tell me they don't love it. And whether that's because they haven't broken it in or they just don't like the firmer ride, it is a shoe that's not for everybody. It's kind of an acquired taste, the Boston 12. You got to put some miles in it, and you have to be willing to run fast while wearing it to get the most benefit out of it. Speed 4, that's not the case. You can roll along at any pace in this shoe. So far, I've run everything from recovery pace miles down to 550 pace strides, and the Speed feels best at around everyday running paces, maybe a little bit to the faster side, whereas the Boston 12 really does not feel good at all for relaxed recovery efforts. Even for daily training miles, I don't love this shoe. I gotta be running 730 or below, so into steady pace range or any sort of race pace range, that's where the Boston 12 shines. Now the Speed 4 does have a much better overall fit and feel. The upper on this thing is fantastic. The lockdown is great. Boston 12 doesn't really nail it with the lockdown. It can be a bit sloppy at times. I've kind of settled into a good rhythm with the shoe where I can crank down the laces and know how to tie it well, but it does take some getting used to. Now in terms of price, Boston 12 undercuts the Speed 4 by $10. However, I wouldn't really bring that into the conversation here because they are such different shoes that it wouldn't really make sense to buy the Boston 12 unless you know that this is going to work for you. So with with the midsole and the Boston 12 here, you're getting that firmer light strike on the bottom, a light strike pro top layer, and then these glass fiber energy rods in here. And all of those are what's combining to give that firm, fast package versus the Speed 4 with the plastic plate, much more soft and flexible. So if you are a faster runner, Boston 12 is one of the best marathon training shoes out there. And when I say faster runner, I mean any sub 315, sub 3, sub 250 marathons. That's where this thing is going to come into play. If you want to run fast, Boston 12 is going to keep your legs feeling fresh while being able to execute at your top speeds. Speed 4 is a much better daily option. I actually think these would make a nice pairing where you have the Speed 4 for everyday faster miles, the Boston 12 for workouts, and then a nice soft plodding along shoe I would pair with these guys. Maybe something like New Balance 1080 V13 or even a Nike Vomero, something else that's non-plated for slower recovery efforts. So in terms of all these shoes that we looked at in the plated trainer market segment, the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 is definitely the one that's going to work best for most people. Now the downside of that is it doesn't have as much aggression and bite as some of these other shoes have for faster runners, and it seems like Saucony is pushing this more to the daily trainer category anyway. So in this latest iteration, that means the Speed is becoming a top-notch daily trainer with the best materials available. You got that Puma, you got that plastic plate for stability, and that opens up the market for some of these other shoes to come in and take the cake for speed workouts. So my top speed workout shoe in this category is still the Adidas Boston 12. That's going to feel the best for any of these marathon training style workouts. And I know most of you out there who are watching this channel are into distance running, so Boston 12 is going to be a good choice for that, especially if you're on the sub 330, sub 315, sub 3 hour marathon range. And then for top of the end speed, for track work, if you want something fun, that's where the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2 comes in, but that's more of a niche product and I wouldn't really suggest adding that to your rotation unless you're doing a ton of track work or you just want to try something different outside of the norm. And then the close competitors to the Speed 4 for everyday miles with a plate are going to be the New Balance SC Trainer V2 and the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. So SC Trainer V2 is going to be great for longer runs. It's super forgiving. That fuel cell foam has a nice bounce to it. It is on the heavier side, so not going to be great for any speed work at all. I would prefer the Speed 4 if I wanted a soft, forgiving, plated shoe for workouts. And then the Deviate Nitro 2 is kind of the do-it-all shoe with that thick Puma grip that can handle some faster pace, that can handle some longer runs, although I wouldn't love taking it above the 2-hour mark. I prefer a little bit more of forgiving cushion than the Deviate Nitro 2 offers for long runs, but that's going to be great for everyday miles and is a little bit of a firmer option than the Speed 4. So let me know what your picks are in this category. Also, let me know what questions you have. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.